Do you suck at learning new skills? Do you feel like you have no coordination? Do you feel like your head is always stuck in the clouds and you can easily get lost in your own thoughts? And then when you have to physically exert yourself, you feel like a dummy just scratching your head. Before we go on with this video, if you don't already know what the cognitive stack or cognitive functions are, please watch my video, Cognitive Functions and the Cognitive Stack Explained in 5 minutes. It will give you a better understanding of what we are going to talk about in this video. So if you're an INFJ or an INTJ, you'll know that we are NI dominant. That means that we always like to think about things, theorize on things, let our imaginations run wild, but opposite of our dominant cognitive function is our fourth and inferior function, extroverted sensing. It is the opposite of introverted intuition, where introverted intuition deals with thinking and theorizing about things. Extroverted sensing, or SE, involves having to physically touch things, manipulate them, experiment with them. So this poses a problem to us NI dominant people because we can have all these ideas and theories about something, but then when we have to physically deal with this thing, it is completely different from what we had mentally anticipated. I'll give you an example. Say we want to buy this widget. We know what color widget we want. We know which model of the widget we want. We know which features we will want for this widget. We know the store to which we will go in order to purchase this widget. We know the price we can expect to pay for it. We already know all the ways in which we are going to use it once we bring it home. So we have done the NI thing and mentally prepared for the process of obtaining and owning this widget. But once we physically begin the process and turn our NI into SE and we go to the store to get our widget, the store that we had planned to go to does not have the widget in stock. So we go to a different store to get our widget, but then they sell it for a little bit more than we anticipated, and they don't have the color or the model that we want. So we pay the slightly higher price and settle for a different color and model, and then bring the widget home, only to find that the widget does not come already assembled. So we have to figure out how to assemble it, and then we have to go through the process of setting it up, buying batteries for it, calibrating it, downloading the app for it, making an account, coming up with a username and password, all of that extra stuff that was not accounted for when we were still in the NI stage, the stage of theorizing how the process of obtaining and owning this widget would go. So we can get very overwhelmed in the SE stage. INFJs and INTJs are excellent at planning things ahead of time, figuring out what the goal is and determining how to get there, but we are horrible about anticipating the small details in between, and we often get blindsided by unanticipated problems that arise during the actual process. Inferior extroverted sensing can cause a slew of problems for INFJs and INTJs, including being slow to learn new information, like when we are in a class and we just can't grasp information as quickly as our classmates, or having difficulty adjusting to change, like your workplace just switched to a new computer software system and you just can't seem to get the hang of it. Or you have problems learning a new skill, like your friends all want to go try indoor skydiving and you just can't seem to make yourself float in that stupid little tube thing. So knowing that extroverted sensing is our inferior function, how can we improve this part of us so that we can be more well-rounded individuals and not have so many struggles in the physical world? First of all, I want to say that we should not beat ourselves over the head with the fact that we aren't good at the SE thing like other people. We have our own strengths and that should be celebrated too, and we should absolutely accept the fact that SE is our weak spot. But with that being said, accepting something the way that it is doesn't mean that you shouldn't still try to work on it when able. Working on your areas of weaknesses can make you a more well rounded person, challenge you for personal growth, and reduce the odds of you getting anxious or overwhelmed whenever you have to use your weak spot. Also, in the way that Chris from A Psych so beautifully put it, cognitive functions are not what we do, but they are the lens by which we see the world. So you can't do something and then expect that over time it will make your inferior function stronger, but you can do things that will force you to switch out your preferred lens, aka your dominant function, for your lesser preferred lens, aka your inferior function. So when you only see the world through your preferred lens or your dominant function, you'll only have a limited ability to see the world in its entirety. So let's practice using all of our lenses so that we can fully see and appreciate the world. So enough talking, let's talk about simple activities that you can do that will force you to put on your SE lens. These activities will force you to come out of your head and stop living in that place where you only imagine how things will be or how things will go, and you will have to physically apply yourself in order to make something happen. Number one, take a hike. And this is not an idiom. I mean it literally. And it's best if you take a hike somewhere you've never been before. So having to walk around and navigate through an area where you've never been before will force you to be in that moment, checking out the scenery, figuring out where you need to go. It will also give you the chance to pay attention to your body, listening to your walking pace to see if you can walk faster to get in some cardio, or if you need to go slower to give your heart a rest. You can listen to if you're feeling thirsty and if you need water, if you're building a sweat, or if the weather is feeling pretty good. Taking a hike is an excellent way to get you out of your head and just enjoying your surroundings, being out in nature. Number two, go walk around a downtown area, whether it's your local downtown or if you have to drive an hour to see the downtown of a different city. Downtown areas are so fascinating to me. There are always people walking around, each doing their own thing, each leading their own lives. And sometimes I could just watch people and just wonder, where they're coming from, where they're going, what are their dreams, what inspires them. I love being in downtown areas because I can do that NI thing, but I am also forced to use my SE lens too in order to fully see and experience everything. I can walk around and look at the shops and see what interesting things they sell. I can see what kinds of restaurants there are and what kinds of cuisine they serve. I like to see some of the weirdest businesses that can afford to rent a place downtown, like a yoga studio slash bar or a pet shop that only sells talking parrots from South America. I love looking at the different buildings and just admiring the architecture. When you go to a downtown area to practice using your SE, you don't have to try to accomplish anything because NI is all about planning something and then accomplishing it. But with this activity, you don't have to try to accomplish anything. You can just walk around and just see what you can see because there is so much to see. You can literally walk the same street 10 times and see something new every single time. Suspend your NI for a little bit and just enjoy your SE and all that your SE can help you to experience. Number three, try a new restaurant. If you're feeling even more adventurous, try some cuisine that you've never tried before. I personally used to think that Indian food seemed really boring because all it was just curry. But my friend forced me to try it once and I was instantly hooked. And now palak with lamb is one of my favorite foods. If you're willing to try something new, I highly recommend Indian cuisine. Comment below and let us all know a lesser known but really, really good food that you highly recommend. But if you like to play it safe with your sensory experiences, like we SE inferiors tend to do, then you can try a cuisine that you're used to, that you like Italian or Japanese, and just pick a different restaurant. Trying a new restaurant or trying a new cuisine is a good sensory experience for INFJs and INTJs because it's less sensory stimulating than trying something like hang gliding, but it's still novel and it will force us to stop theorizing in our heads and be there in the moment to taste this novel food, let our tongue and our palate feel it out, and then determine how we feel about it. How does it compare to our go-to restaurant? Trying new food is definitely a good way to practice using our SE lens. Number 4, cook a new recipe. We NI-DOMs tend to just want the bigger picture or the final result, so we will skip small steps in between if we can, just to try to get to that end result faster. But this is something that we cannot do when it comes to cooking. When you're baking cookies, you have to use that room temperature butter, or else your cookies will come out uneven in texture. And when you're melting chocolate, you have to make sure that the bowl that you're melting the chocolate in is absolutely clean and free of any moisture, or else it's going to make your melted chocolate come out all chunky. So these are the kinds of things that we NI-DOMs get so bent out of shape over, because we're like, okay, I need to melt chocolate, and then we melt it in a bowl, and then it comes out all chunky, and we're like, oh, like, where did I go wrong? I was supposed to do this thing, and in theory, when I did this thing, I should have gotten this other thing, but I did this thing, and then I did not get this other thing. Well, you didn't do the small steps in between, honey. The bigger picture and the end result matters, but the small steps in between matter too. So practice doing all the steps and not skipping steps, and use your SE. Be physically present and tune into small details by following a new recipe. Since it's new, you'll be less inclined to rely on your previous knowledge of cooking, and you will be forced to follow the recipe exactly in order to ensure a good turnout. This might be a little bit stressful, but just commit to following the recipe exactly and try not to cut corners. You'll end up with a delicious treat if you do. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Number 5, try doing a craft. Crafting is fun, and there are so many DIY ideas out there on the internet. Choose something you want to do, like making some room decor or a new hanging shelf. The idea is the same with the cooking exercise. You will have to come out of your head and out of that planning phase, and you will have to physically put things together and paint it and make sure that it was built well so that it'll function. And you can't skip on any small steps, or your product will come out ugly or it will not hold. You have to try to do your best work with every twist and tweak to ensure that your end product is of good quality and not something that was put together just all nilly-willy like some 3-year-old made it. So what sensory experiences do you enjoy as an INFJ or INTJ? Let me know in the comments below, because I love interacting with you guys through the comments. Also, let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, because I do have many more ideas about how to practice using your SE lens. Thanks again for watching.